Hello and welcome to another scene for the Living World of Darkness, Changeling the Dreaming Venue. Today's scene takes place once again at the county freehold where the two barons have been residing, and the countess has just about finished packing up her stuff and is preparing to move to a nice quiet home near her son, probably. Um, she is leaving the freehold to whoever eventually takes over. And today we have a young, chipper Fox Puka visiting with some follow-up questions. and
Questions for Pukas, yes.
a fantastic idea, if ever there was one. Arriving at the court, since it's not exactly a busy day, being a Tuesday. Leon is in the back practicing sword fighting with some of the knights, some of his men, and Maripos is probably somewhere either in a study or an office, but that's later.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'll go and find this nice lion. Is he wearing a shirt or no?
The important questions.
Yes, this is important.
He is, because, you know, sword fighting.
Sure, okay, he's a wimp. Amber is wearing his boots, and she looks like she's gotten some practice in walking them. They still look awkward, but she's trying to make them as sexy as possible, which I don't know if, I mean, she's wearing like a garter belt with them, and like, I mean, you can't really see them, but like she's wearing a skirt that's probably too short to show off the top of the atop the boots. Yeah, she's trying. It's working maybe a little bit.
I just imagine it looks like you know, when Charlie Chaplin would wear like the shoes that were too big for him.
No, I don't. I should look this up.
Yes. Like Charlie Chaplin as the tramp would often wear shoes that were like too big, and it's just like you have to walk with like your feet splayed so that you're not just constantly tripping over them.
Oh yes, this guy. Yes.
So I'm just imagining Amber trying to like work that.
Dex seduction.
if you'd like.
I'm legitimately curious.
Okay, well, let's see how this goes when we set up a scene. It can
Right.
only be an amusing train wreck, right?
Yeah, of course.
Let's see. Doo-doo.
When there's a possibility for anything to go wrong, I always want to see if it does.
Let's see.
Also, I just think Dex seduction is a fun combination of skills.
What was the one that we used for the straw? Was it stamina?
Stamina seduction.
Beautiful.
I have 2 successes.
Hooray! Well, yes, 2 successes. You managed to not trip and look adorable.
Excellent. It's working a little bit.
Leon will notice her adorable walk across the field and let his sparring partner know that he's going to stop. The sparring partner is a little slow on the uptake, and Leon knocks him over with the hilt of his sword, just kind of a poof, sending the individual kind of on his ass.
Oh, I hope you weren't stopping on my part. I don't mind watching.
Really, you do seem kind of like the voyeuristic type, he says with a smile.
I don't know what you are implying.
To what do I owe the pleasure of this random visit?
Well, I wanted to show off how well these your gift was working for me.
It's quite the fashion statement. I almost hesitate to let you know that Perry finished your boots.
Oh, how unfortunate. Well, I suppose I can save the trend starting for another day.
Well, that's entirely up to you, but sorry. So your friend didn't want to use the footwear on at all himself, or what happened there?
There's a funny story about that I actually wanted to impart onto you because I require your wisdom.
Fire away, dear. Fire away.
She's gonna look around and see if there's any place to like sit so they're not awkwardly standing having this conversation.
Yeah, he'll lead the way to like a little like cool down area.
Right, and the sort of people that are around here, I want to know, like, are there a lot of them? Do they look interested in this conversation? Are they like nosy?
There's like a handful of Leon's men, but they know better than to sit there and like butt in. So they'll meander, but they aren't like lingering to snoop.
Okay, cool. So once Amber sits, she's going to cross her legs as best she can wearing these boots. So I think I must have made a fool of myself, which normally would be quite all right, but in this situation, I don't think was very helpful. Remember how you told me to tell him that the county was sending men to assist him?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the county has already agreed to send him men to assist him with this mission, and so I must have sounded like a bit of an idiot.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate. My men aren't property of the county yet, he says with a smile. And he indicates the individuals practicing out on the field. There will be some that are wearing Leon's like coat of arms on their like arms. Mm-hmm. And they are rather athletic individuals. There are a couple of county squires left behind. The countess's personal guard is who is sent to support William. Mm-hmm. But there are a couple of squires remaining who have who have not found other greener pastures to move on to after the passing of Count Maldsec.
Right.
They are getting their asses thoroughly handed to them. Mine are obviously the gentler ones.
Oh yes, I could tell. The only issue this brings up is the fact that I was hoping not to have to explain to him how I acquired these boots, and as you can probably imagine, he is very happy with me at the moment.
Oh. He does seem the jealous sort.
I don't know if not to stroke your ego too much, but never before you.
Wait, never before?
Never seemed jealous of my other partners previously.
Oh. Well, perhaps he's never met somebody he actually considered a threat to his attention.
Perhaps. I don't know quite who he's jealous of, but that's another story.
Oh, he had his chance with me.
His loss then. But yes, that leaves that avenue a bit less clear than I would have originally hoped it would be. So from observing your men, would you call them a sort of special weapons and tactics force, or are they more frontliners?
I'd call them brutes and idiots personally, but I like to stroke their egos. There's if you look out, you'll see a couple of like swordsmen and pikemen. Like they're dealing with like traditional hand to hand combat weapon.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like trebuchets or anything being launched.
Right.
Yeah. Do you require some sort of special weapons tactic? Should I be calling in sorcerers or?
Oh, personally, I would very much. I would be simply happy with the idiot grunts. However, I think in order to best uh, serve the situation and the safety of the people in Brooklyn, if uh, the better avenues might be perhaps special forces, or I don't know if there was any information to be gathered on the I don't know, guard schedules, guard changes of the Ranter's hideout, the possible entrances and exits, any weak points, things of that nature.
He thinks for a moment. Sorry, I'm hoarse today.
That's all right.
Mm, not one of my guys, but somebody I've seen floating about the place. There's a blind individual. Court. He's like the court seer. He, with all the changing of the guard, he's asked to stay on. I didn't have anybody to replace him with, and neither did Mary.
Have you two gotten that familiar now?
Oh, just we are the best business partners one could ever hope for.
I'm so glad to hear that.
She's certainly progressive, he says.
And this blind seer, I don't suppose I could find him about somewhere? Out and
Oh,
about?
I'm sure he's around here somewhere. Doesn't quite respond when I shriek for him. Not that I shriek for him often.
You don't seem like the shrieking type.
Well, step on my tail and you may find different.
I will file that away for future reference.
As long as we establish our personal boundaries ahead of time, I'm sure it'll be great.
Of course. The other unfortunate, I guess, outcome of William and Mai's civil discussion was that apparently, in my, attempting to relay to him that while I don't know your motives precisely, it seems as though we, at the very least, have a mutual self-interest. And I trust people who want to take care of themselves, generally. While I was trying to impart that, he and she'll kind of look around like conspiratorially and kind of just lean in just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So he said that he might have some sort of arrangement that Mariposa is planning. He said that he proposed, at least, that a council, if he were to support, or in exchange, I suppose, for his supporting Mariposa, she would establish a sort of changeling council in all of the boroughs and a council for the county overall. So that made it much more difficult for me to argue with him, I suppose. I can't really get a suitable comeback for such a thing.
Interesting. I didn't realize that she'd resorted to bribery.
Oh, I don't know if it's quite bribery. And she says, uncrossing and recrossing her legs again, sort of pointedly.
He gives a bit of a chuckle at that. Well, it certainly sounds a bit quid pro quo. But I guess somebody who's ignored the commoners in her previous position of authority feels it necessary to make these kinds of bargains. You know, sort of lay out a path to avoid history repeating itself.
I don't suppose you have similar plans. Not
For
specifically council necessarily, but in terms of, well, I don't know if you have any history that shouldn't be repeated. I think perhaps the better question is if you have anything planned to ensure that history does repeat itself.
A lion is only as good as his pack. A lone lion prowling the savannah tends to starve to death. And I find that the best way to keep your pack strong is to keep them happy. If you already are listening to the voices of the masses, these things like representatives just become an extra step between the voices of the many reaching the ears of myself. Why do I need to install a middleman when the voices are strong on their own?
I'm gonna just real quick do a peony because I mean like I that seems like reasonable, but like at the same time, I want to know if he's maybe putting this a nicer way than he wants to, or something like that.
That's cool. I guess I will roll his minute subterfuge to see if he can sort of circumvent questions asked.
Mm-hmm. Does my approachable come in since he's talking?
I'll let it apply this time since she's being charming with her boots from earlier.
With her boots.
Let's see.
I have 5 successes.
Okay, I had to look up his manip subterfuge real quick. Okay, I need to roll that.
I didn't need the decreased difficulty. Look at that.
Nice.
I'm not gonna jinx it though. Thanks, Dice Roller, for being merciful.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 successes.
Well, all right. I can see we're just gonna have to keep doing this.
Well, he's a charming individual.
No, yes, I am aware. This is a worthy opponent.
Puka, puka.
So yeah, she'll just she'll nod at that and sort of consider that for a moment. And in terms of anyone who's concerned with checks and balances, is there anything I should tell them to ease their minds?
You can tell them that through their masses and numbers, they've already dethroned somebody that they found insufficient and wanting. And should they find me insufficient and wanting, I'm only one man.
And she'll just kind of look behind him to his other men and be like, yes, as you said, you don't care for your pack at all.
This goon squad, he says, but he does occasionally glance over to make sure that they are, not getting injured in anything.
Right.
One second.
Sure.
Okay. My son came in to ask me if he can read like a little kid's book for his reading today. Like, no, finish your book. Shh, I don't care. Okay. Where was I? Yes. Yeah, he does like glance over at his men because yes, he is concerned about their well-being.
Mhm.
But even my crack team of bullet sponges here certainly don't outnumber the angry voices of the many when they ultimately decide to storm the Bastille and demand my head on a pike.
Well, considering how well the French Revolution went.
Hopefully, it hasn't gone that far yet.
I don't know if you would be able to clear up any other rumors I've been hearing.
I'd love to hear the rumors spreading about me.
Well, other than of course that you're devilishly handsome, which I put down immediately. Um, Other ones were about how you managed to make your double the size of your barony. Some, of course, say that you resorted to methods perhaps similar to mine if I were to attempt such a thing, and some suggested that you perhaps were able to do it in a more underground fashion, and that's why everyone is that's why no one knows about it.
Hmm. Backdoor dealings. I wonder who would possibly accuse me of that. He says,
I'm sure I have no idea.
it's such a shame California is so far away. You could take a poll of my constituents to see how happy they were under my care, he says. And obviously, I worked them to the bone, just until they were too tired to complain. And then once they were too tired to complain, I moved to the next group who gave up without a fight because they wanted the exhaustion that the others had. And he just kind of like shakes his head. Nothing so sinister, my dear. I live by a very simple principle. Give the people what they want.
I don't suppose the people of California wanted a uh and she's kind of she seems like unhappy that he's wearing a shirt, but like she'll sort of just like look him up and down and be like, I don't suppose they wanted sort of masculine figurehead.
And he's going to like gently bring like take her hand and like bring it up to his lips and like give her that like eye contact. Like, well, the people wanted me, of course. And he like gives her a gentle like kiss on the knuckles.
Well, that's impressive. Even for me, I do have a harem, but to get around to your entire barony, two baronies, that is.
Well, what can I say? He doesn't offer what to say.
Right, of course not. That would be too easy. Excuse me while I attempt another perception empathy roll because eventually, no, never mind. I'm not gonna try to argue statistics.
Sure. What are you trying to glean from this?
Um, if when he said like nothing so sinister, if he was being truthful about that, and from this is what Lily's thinking from the sort of when he was saying I worked them to the bone, being like I did well in this barony, and the other people saw that I was doing that well, so they also wanted me, sort of thing. If that's accurate.
Okay.
4.
Let's see. just because he's trying to keep his puka
Right,
at
of course.
ease.
He
Yeah.
has to play his hands close to his chest.
Yeah. 1, 2.
Also for defender? No, he's the defender, so.
Yeah. Closer, getting closer though.
I'm trying so hard. Unless my approachable counts on that roll as well.
You know what? I'll let it count. Hold on just a second. I have to remind my son what the baby napping means.
Oh, sure.
Hooray. Okay.
If fives are counting, then I have 6 on that roll.
All right. Yeah. He's saying he it wasn't he didn't like abuse anybody or intimidate commoners
Right.
specifically, like the people. When he's saying the people, he's not talking about his his fellow noblemen.
Yes.
He refers to them very differently. No, he says, his power is the people, and he means that in a very sincere way. As
Question
sincere
mark?
as a
No,
puka.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
As sincere as a puka can be.
yeah, like the people. His power is the people, but also he's deserves to be powerful, kind of thing. That sort
Oh
of.
yeah, there's a little bit of a self righteousness in there.
Mm-hmm. So, but yes, without that, he knows he wouldn't, like, he's a puka. If you don't
Yeah.
have the support of the people, moving up in rank is not gonna happen.
Got it. Got it. I'm glad that's settled. I there's just one other that I've been hearing, and it kind of I don't know. I enjoy being a plaything as much as any other puka does. But that you may have found yourself another playmate.
Yeah, thanks for a moment. The squire from Sebastian's uh barony. Him?
Oh, I didn't actually hear names, but there was speculation.
Well, here's the thing. The people underneath a baron are only as good as they are taught to be. And this kid being demoted and being um, chastised so publicly, he's, I think there was a certain injustice done to him. Sebastian allowed him to fight for his name, but failed to lend any aid. So all he could do is potentially reap the benefits. But he invested none of the cost.
No, I am glad that someone sees some good in him.
Well, geodes don't look like much until they're cracked open. And sometimes it takes a little bit of pressure to reveal the gems inside.
Of course, and this I wouldn't dare suggest that it's any sort of easy prey because you don't. Oh, I know I am not easy prey. I certainly hope you don't view me as easy prey.
I don't view you as easy at all, my dear. Yay!
No, she'll laugh, but
He belongs to my house. I don't think that is the way he has been handled has been beneficial to him. As a baron, my responsibility to knights is to groom them to eventually become barons themselves, perhaps. Either when I move up the ladder or shuffle loose this mortal coil. I don't see that happening much with him, where he currently is. And since I am Fiona and he is Fiona, well, he's my responsibility by right.
and I'm sure I don't have to tell you that while I certainly see even though, of course, don't speak a word of this to him. I can't let anyone know that I have a heart. That I'm glad he's getting some support. That not everyone agrees with us on that aspect.
It's tough to get a second chance here and there, but I don't know. The kid has moxie, and if there's one thing I can appreciate, it's moxie.
Well then, I think I will be sufficiently able to guide those rumors along where they need to go.
I do hope that we can continue having a friendly relationship, he says, and gives her like a little wink. And he goes, but before you go, if that's what you're planning on doing, let me get your shoes for you.
Such a gentleman, thank you.
And he yells out for Barry, Barry! And after a moment, the nebbishy little Boggin arrives. And he looks a little bewildered for a moment, and they go and look at the shoes, Barry. The shoes. Why would I need you if not for the shoes? Right. Sorry. Barry will leave, and a few minutes later return with a pair of boots, and I will send you a PM with what those look like.
Excellent.
Yes.
And since Amber knows that Barry likes to scuttle off, she's gonna reach out just for his hand before he goes.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's amicable to it, obviously, if he pulls away, she won't. But she wants to just give him a quick kiss on like the forehead and say, "You're a sweetheart."
Barry blushes furiously. And thank you. I hope you like them. They're to your specifications. And he starts to like prattle on, and Leon's like, Barry, please.
Oh no, it's adorable, and I love them.
And he blushes some more, and then like gives like a bow to Leon, and like runs off again. He keeps himself busy.
Oh, and here I was just getting the hang of these, she says, and she's gonna try them on. They look awesome. I like the fur.
It's faux fur, just in case. Like,
oh yeah, yeah, of course. And
but I think, yeah, there's like a certain aesthetic quality to a fox wearing little black boots with fur on them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we know Amber hates things that are on the nose. So the great thing about changing out of these larger boots is that you get to see the little stockings that she's wearing held up by some garters as she changes into the smaller boots, so that she's only wearing tights now rather than like, I guess, sort of half pants.
Not wearing her 10 pairs of socks, you mean?
Right, exactly.
and those should be at like Wayfair too. If you want to buy them up by like adding glamour to them and stuff like that in the future, you can.
Excellent.
Yeah.
For two is all I wanted. This is perfect. I am, yes. Amber looks pleased with herself. Lily also looks pleased with herself.
And Leon will retrieve his own boots. Just kick off the shoes he was wearing because they're not his preferred footwear and
right.
Slide those up.
I polished them well for you. It's obviously it's obvious they weren't polished, but
perfect. Barry will love that. With a laugh.
And do let me know if there's any way I can repay you for these. She says she's just going to put a hand on his chest because she loves being over dramatic.
Just let them carry you my way more often.
That should be easy enough to do. Not implying that you're easy, of course.
Oh, I'm very easy.
She'll drop a curtsy to him, mostly just to like show off the pretty skirt and her legs that are now like actually exposed. She feels a lot better with with her legs actually mobile.
What? Not wearing giant boots is comfortable? And he'll give her like a polite bow as well. And if you want to visit the Seer or Mariposa, they are both somewhere in the freehold.
I think first stop is Seer, and then I'll just really briefly, if she's around, pop into Mariposa's office later. But that's again later point in time.
Yes. If you ask around, people will generally point you in the direction of like where the bedrooms are. There's like a room past those, and it will be slightly open, and if you I don't like, it's the door is slightly ajar, but it's not like wide open.
Okay, so then I'll just
from inside you'll hear, please come in and make yourself comfortable. When you and if you enter,
yes, she's gonna open the door.
The room is like just lit enough for you to not trip over things. Imogen is sort of lounging on a chair, just kind of running his fingers over some braille in a book. And he stops running his fingers over the book and turns his face towards Amber. I can't say I was expecting you.
Amber Kittredge. I own the establishment Vixen. I wasn't a regular here. I might start being more of a regular here, hopefully. But no, this is only my second visit.
Well, welcome. Are you lost?
Oh yes, and I'm very lost. I thought I thought you would be the one to point me in the right direction.
He just kind of like takes a moment and like shakes like the bewilderment out of his head for a moment and closes his book and sets it aside. I'm sorry. I'm usually a little more on guard, but
oh no, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting anything.
Oh no, I've read this book hundreds of times. I know where it's going.
Well, in terms of my being lost, I assume you're familiar with the issue of ranters we have in Brooklyn. And I I am of the mind that that they should be rid of as soon as possible. But I'm a little bit lost on how the I don't know how the guard changes work on the Ranter's hideout. If the hideout has any weak points, entrance and exits. I was told you were the one to come speak to about this.
Even though he's blind, he's making like brow furrowing as
Oh
he's
yeah,
trying to like piece through the puka speak.
she's not letting the puka speak on heavy at this point.
No, but you know it's
It's still
still
puka speak.
something. Yeah, when you're only basing it off of like tone of voice and you can't like see like faces and stuff like that, it's like
Yes.
The changing of the guard for the ranters. You want okay, he says, and he's just like, please have a seat. There should be a chair around here somewhere.
Thank you. And she'll find somewhere to sit. If not, she has no qualm sitting on the floor.
There is in fact a chair to be sat upon in there for when people come to visit him.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, Miss Kitteridge, is that what you said your name was? Kittredge?
People call me Amber.
Tell me then, do you believe in Don?
Leaving what now out of character?
Don is the changeling word for fate.
Oh, got it. Okay. She'll consider that for a moment. Dawn might not be the most accurate term for what I believe, and it might be the closest.
Mm. There have been some interesting conversations I've had in the past few days about Dawn versus free will. And all I have to say is it is a lot more difficult to exercise your free will if you don't know what your destiny is. You can't fight a destiny you can't see, after all. And as he's saying this, he's reaching over and he grabs a mirror and he reaches again and he grabs a small blade and he cuts the tip of his finger with the blade and starts to trace some symbols on the mirror. And if you look at the mirror, you notice it's not like a typical silver mirror.
Mm-hmm.
It's a black scrying mirror.
I see.
And as he's doing this, he's talking to Amber about fate.
Hmm.
Do you plan on being there at this changing of the guards?
Ideally, I would be there when there were no guards. But no, my skills would lie somewhere in the vicinity, if not at the front lines.
Mm. And sorry, I'm looking up what level of soothsay he's supposed to be casting at this. I know it's soothsay. I
Yeah.
don't remember which level. um, so many books on my tablet.
His overlay is so pretty. It's space.
Thank you. He is pretty for and blind. Let's see. Okay. So he's going, yeah, while he's while he's doing this, he's casting his bunk on this mirror. And forgive the absurd amount of dice that I'm about to roll.
I would have no qualms. This guy seems to be on our side.
Yeah. Let's see. Jeez, what a terrible fucking roll.
What a terrible roll, but no ones.
Yes, thank goodness. And those 10s helped. Those bookend 10s helped.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's his like general bewilderment of being interrupted by a puka in the middle of the day that he wasn't expecting, and there's very little he doesn't expect. It's not the strongest vision that starts to glow from this mirror as he sort of kicks off this chimerical vision, and it splits, and the image starts, and it shows a group of people, very familiar people, whoever it is that ends up going to the scene where your answers are configured.
Got it.
Yeah, and they're traveling together. Some seem to be having a deep conversation before they arrive, and it splits into two images. Suddenly, like a fork in the road.
Mm-hmm.
And both images begin to play simultaneously. And one shows like just like a full-on charge into the Ranters' headquarters, and you watch and the image is blurry, but it's enough to see what's happening as people are mown down. Some Ranters, some these friends of yours. And the other Path of Dawn shows like 3 of them pulling out weapons you haven't seen before.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just charging in, the people with these weapons each have people following behind them, and they go around back and to the sides of the Ranters' hideout. And with this one, it shows there's minimal death. None of your friends pass away. And most of the Ranters are actually taken alive.
Is the vision too blurry for me to see what the machines are actually or look like they're doing?
The machines?
Or the
weapons?
Yeah, the weapons.
Yeah.
I assume they are machines. They could just be weapons.
Yeah, they're weapons. One is like you can see what types they are, but the vision's too blurry to tell like fine detail. You see like a large sword, what looks to be a wand.
Okay.
For lack of better term, like it's silver and long, and you can't quite. It doesn't look sharp.
Okay.
And the third is a flail.
Cool.
So, but yes, those are the 3 items that, when procured, will ensure victory.
I assume it would be some kind of intelligence roll, which isn't Amber's best step, but like I might as well try to like recognize these, like if she's like, oh, that looks like a this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be intelligence. I don't know, gray mare.
Okay. This is a huge dice pool. Get ready for this.
Okay.
What's the difficulty?
Standard.
Okay.
Unless you don't have gray mare, and then it's...
Hey, I got 2. I do have gray mare.
Okay.
1 dot of gray mare and 2 dots of intelligence, and I got 2 successes.
It's very impressive. Oh goodness. Yeah, it's they are chimerical weapons. the sword um looks like something out of a fairy tale.
Hmm.
You've the flail looks new, and the wand doesn't seem to have a physical counterpart. It is entirely chimerical.
Okay.
So a treasure, a chimera, and um, something recently crafted.
Hmm. Okay.
So yes, and the vision will fade, and he goes, "These are the paths of dawn." Many like to think that when we speak of fate, it is a simple, "This is what will happen," but we have our choices, and these choices lead us to these paths.
And are these two paths, obviously the future itself isn't set in stone, but is it set as two? These are the only two?
These are the most likely to.
I see. I was never good with any sort of sci-fi paradox where if you know the future, does that make one future more likely or not?
Well, this these are the paths if this pursuit is chosen. If you decide to meet the ranters at their base, these are your paths. If you choose something else, other things would come to pass.
Well, this is very helpful. Thank you.
And he nods. I'm sorry if I couldn't clarify it more.
I somehow clarity isn't always the best thing when it comes to me, at least.
And he nods. Then, uh, if there's nothing else, please leave things as you found them when when you leave.
Of course, is there anything I can do in return for you? You've done a great service.
I speak the truth of dawn, and this is my desire and my position in life. I do not require payment for it.
I will leave you with my gratitude.
Thank you.
She'll get up, leave. Careful not to touch anything on her way out, and close the door back to its partially open position. And
All
then just
right.
because she doesn't trust her memory, quickly write like on her hand or something.
The sword is
the gist
failed.
of the gist of the three things.
Yeah, I'll send a message to you real quick. Let's see. A sword treasure.
Oh, I'm just go back and rewatch the scene. I took some notes, but are my notes the best? We'll find out.
Okay. Okay.
Next, quick pop into Mariposa's place.
Okay. She will actually be in her office. You'll like the guards will be able to point you, and they'll actually follow you to announce your presence to Mariposa.
Mm-hmm. Oh goodness. Okay. And she'll sort of go over to the guards and be like, "That's literally just my name, right? Since I don't have a house."
And they, yeah. It's but they will open the door. And, Amber Kittredge is here to
Proprietor
see
of Vixen.
proprietor of Vixen is here to see you, Baroness. And she looks a little bewildered. Yeah, yes, of course. And you'll hear like books being put away, and she's standing when the guards stand away from the door to let you in.
Since this seems like more of a formal thing, Amber's gonna curtsy to her.
Thank you, she says, and gives a respectful bow back. Please have a seat.
Thank you, Baroness. I'm apologize if I've interrupted anything.
Mm, it is fine. I'm. Did we have an appointment today?
Yes, well, an unofficial one, I suppose, considering who I just met with, apparently. All of our destinies are, for the most part, pre-told, so in some sense, yes, but I hope not to take up too much of your time. I really just have one question. I wanted to clarify in person rather than by word of mouth.
I see. Please have a seat to make yourself comfortable.
She'll sit.
Please tell me your question.
Good. Good job. Out of character, but I am good friends with William Black. I think you spoke to him previously. I just wanted to hear it from you. Exactly, I guess, what your intentions are for the county if you were to become its principal ruler. I realize that's not. I feel like I must have maybe misinformed you when I said just one question, since this is a very complicated question. So I apologize.
She kind of gives that sort of like the confused look that the puka get.
I am used to this.
Yes. My intentions for the county. Well, I've been looking over the request of Mr. Black, seeing how such a thing could be managed with the with the barons of New York City. I intend to end this closing of knowledge and access to freeholds. I believe that these are things that are very dangerous to our people. And as far as other things, I do believe that a lot of issues must be addressed individually. I will see that Isidore meets justice. She thinks for a moment. I will put an end to this unseen discipline that has been established by the previous count. Much must be done to restore this county to a place of order, a place that blossoms. I'm afraid it isn't something that can be sufficiently, como se dice, sufficiently explained in a single brief question answer session.
Of course not. And wasn't thank you for for that answer. That's I realize you were also unprepared. And other than hearing this myself, I just wanted to introduce myself before I think any sort of questioning that happens to our good satyr friend, who is being kept. It's going to be overseen by you, so we might be interacting more in the future. And I didn't want us to have to meet under such unfortunate circumstances.
Ah, yes. You had questions for the imprisoned ranters.
I've been told I'm good at getting answers out of people.
Your lot does have a certain gift, yes.
Then I will leave you to your work. Thank you for indulging me.
I do hope you have a good day, Miss Kittredge.
And she'll give a curtsy on her way out.
And she'll give a respectful head bow, and the guard will open the door for you, see you out, and close it behind. Which means that yeah, you've hit them all.
yeah, I've hit them all. And Amber's, still confused, but slightly less confused, I guess, than she was before. And she has fancy boots now.
Fancy boots, indeed. So yes, if there's nothing else you want to do, like set the freehold on fire or anything insane.
Oh, well, now that you mention it.
Then I guess this is where we'll end our scene. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching, and we will see you next time.